presenting this topic, experimental design between subject design. So, experimental design is fundamental kasi it allows researchers to systematically investigate the cause and effect relationship. So, it also involves studying different group of participants who are exposed to distinct experimental conditions or treatment. So, here also, it compares the outcome of this separate group to draw conclusion about the effect of the independent variables being manipulated. So, in this topic, we will explore the key concept and advantages of between subject design. So, in experimental research, highlighting their role in controlling for compounding variables and providing valuable insight into the factor under investigation. So, the defining characteristic of between subject design is it compares different group of individuals. So, researchers manipulate the independent variables to create different treatment conditions, and the separate group of participants is designed to each of the different conditions. So, dito is yung example ito is dependent variable is then measured for each individual, and researcher examines data looking for differences between group. So, ang goal ng between subject design is to determine whether differences exist between two or more treatment conditions. So, example dito is a researcher may want to compare two teaching methods. So, may dalawang treatment. Dito, we want to determine whether one is more effective than other. Advantage of between subject design. So, each individual score is independent from the other score. So, each participant is measured only once kasi. So, the researcher can reasonably confident that the resulting measurement is relatively clean and uncontaminated by other treatment factors. Kasi each participant is only exposed, they are only exposed to one treatment condition. So thus, their participant score is not influenced by factors such as experience gained from other treatment practice, fatigue or boredom from participating in series of different treatments. So the disadvantages of between subject design is it relatively requires large number of participants. So if we want to compare treatment condition, tatlong treatment condition, so we need 5 score for each treatment. So we requires 150 participants. 50 sa first treatment, 50 sa second, 50 sa third. Next is individual differences. So, ano nga ba itong individual differences? Ito yung personal characteristic that can differ from one participant to another. So, kasi nga, each score obtained from unique individuals who has personal characteristics that are different from all other participants. So, individual differences as compounding variables. So, between subject design, each of the independent variable is represented by separate group of participants. So, ano-ano ba itong mga individual differences? Ito yung compounding variable that can interfere this individual differences like unique traits, characteristics, experiences that distinguish one person from another. So, these individual differences can often act as compounding variables that interfere with the interpretation of result by obscuring the true effect of independent variables under investigation. So, independent differences as compounding variables. So, ito nga yung extraneous variable that systematically differentiate the group is a compounding variable. So, one common type of compounding occurs when an experimenter does not or cannot randomly assign participants to group and some type of differences, individual differences. So ito yung ability, extraversion, shyness, height, or weight act as compounding variable. So in figure, may makikita tayong two groups of participants. So the first group is group of relatively older, and sa number 2 is younger participants. So pag yung result if the result of this example showed na yung score in one group consistently higher than the scores of other group, so it is possible to determine kung yung treatment pa or yung age is yung responsible for the cause of differences or difference between group. So, compounding in individual differences is called assignment bias. So, individual differences are any participant's characteristic that can differ from one participant to another. So, example ito is if yung researcher is unintentionally place higher performing students in a treatment group and lower performing students in a control group. So, this could happen if researcher either consciously or unconsciously believe that the new program will benefit higher achieving students more. The next is yung environmental variables. So environmental variables are any characteristic of environment that may differ. So example nito, if one group may be tested in a larger group and the other group is smaller group, or one group is being measured primarily during morning, then the other group during afternoon. So in between subject design naman, kasi diba, because the researcher has control over the assignment of individual group, so the researcher has both opportunity and responsibility to create groups that are equivalent. So these are the techniques that can be used to protect a study from compounding and environmental variables. So the group should be created equally. The process used to obtain participants should be as similar as possible for all the group and treated equally, except for treatment conditions that are deliberately varied between groups. The group of participants should receive exactly the same experience. The next is composed of equivalent individuals. So the characteristic of participants in any one group should be as similar as possible to the characteristic of participants in every other group. So, limiting compounding by individual differences. So, the following three procedures to set up group between subject experiment study. So, yung first is yung random assignment. So, a random process such as the toss coin is used to assign participants to group. The goal is to ensure that all individuals have the same chance of being assigned to the group. So, ito pwedeng gumamit ng computer program, random number generator, or drawing plots to allocate participants randomly. So, by using this, it ensures that individual differences such as age, gender, and pre-existing health conditions are equally distributed across the group. So, yung restriction na is that the group must be equal in size. So, by using randomization, it establishes group that is unfair and unbiased. So, however, random assignment is not perfect and cannot guarantee equivalent group. So, especially when a smaller sample is used. Matching group. So, guarantee that the different group of participants are equivalent or nearly equivalent. So, identification of variables to be matched across group, measurement of matching variables for each participant, assignment of participants of groups by means of restricted random assignment that ensure balance between groups. So next is yung holding variables constant or restricting range of variables. So when we look at the effect of one independent variable, we are looking at how the predicted value of dependent variable changes while keeping all other variables the same, or simply hold the variable constant. So if a researcher suspect na yung gender differences between group might confound a research study, so ang pinakamagandang solution is to eliminate gender as variable. So by using female participants, a researcher can guarantee that all groups in a study are equivalent with respect to gender. So all groups are all female. So individual differences and variability. So individual differences have the potential to produce high variability scores within a research study. So individual differences can act as compounding variables by making it challenging to isolate the true effect of independent variables. So when a research study has a lot of variance, it is difficult to see the real treatment effect. So differences between treatment and variance within treatment. So big differences between treatment are good because they provide evidence for differential treatment effect. So pag malaki yung differences between treatment, it makes easier to detect and interpret the effect of independent variable being studied. So when contrast between group is substantial, it becomes evident that treatment has had a meaningful impact, leading to more straightforward and compelling conclusion. Next is standardized procedure and treatment setting. So each group of participants represent a single treatment condition. So one obvious way to help minimize the variability within each group is to be sure na all participants within group are treated exactly the same. So limited individual differences. So holding participants variable constant or restricting its range could be used as effective technique for limiting differences between group of participants. So in mixed group, gender differences so male versus female will contribute to variance within the group by holding gender constant. So nabanggit na kanina. So random assignment and matching. So sample size. Using a large sample can help minimize the problem associated with high variance. So pag malaki kasi yung sample, better control of variability. So high variance can attribute to random variation with better sample. So increasing the sample size helps control this randomness by allowing researchers to average out effect of individual variation, leading to more stable and consistent estimation. So ito naman po the threat to internal validity of between subject design. So differential attrition. So it refers to differences in attrition rates from one group to another and can threaten the internal validity of between subject design. So dito in simplest term is yung participants is nagwi-withdraw sa research study bago pa ito matapos. Next is yung communication between groups. So the participants in one treatment condition are allowed to talk with the participants in another condition. There is a potential variety of problem developed. So, tulad nito, if participants talk to each other, however, then those individuals receive the old treatment may learn from new treatment and may begin to use some element from the new treatment. The next is yung diffusion, the spread treatment effect from the experimental group to control group, so which tend to reduce the differences between the two conditions. So, true effect, pag nangyari yung spread ng treatment effect yung true effect ng treatment can be masked by shared information. So, yung compensatory equalization. So, untreated group learn about treatment being received by other group and demand the same treatment. So, sample ito, if the boys in non-violent television group learn na yung nanonood or yung sa treatment ng violent television group are allowed to watch the television series Batman, nagdedemand sila na gusto din nila mapanood din yun. Then, compensatory rivalry. So, untreated group learn about the treatment being received by other group and demand the same or equal treatment. Resentful demoralization naman is untreated group simply give up when they learn about another group is receiving special treatment. So, ang best way para ma-minimize itong mga threats na to internal validity resulting from communication between the group is separate the group of participants as much as possible and keep them from being aware of each other. So, application and statistical analysis of between subject design. So, single factor, two-factor group, or simply the two-group design. So, between subject experimental design involves comparing only two groups of participants. So, the researchers manipulate one independent variable to two levels. So, ito yung the single factor two-group design used to compare treatment or to evaluate the effect of one treatment by comparing treatment group and a control group. So, advantage niya is simple lang siya kasi i-compare mo lang yung dalawang group. And then, to set up two-group study, and there is no substitute or complexity when interpreting the result. Either the two groups are different or they are not. So, yung disadvantage niya is yung provide relatively little information. So, kasi nga dalawang group lang yung ginagamit ng research. So, researchers obtain only two real data points for comparison. So, although two data points are sufficient to establish a difference, they may often are not sufficient to provide a complete detailed picture of the full relationship between an individual independent and dependent variable. So dito, compare means more than two groups. So include several different control groups in a single study. So example ito, if a researcher want to compare driving performance under three conditions. So ito yun, while talking on cell phone, while texting on a cell phone, cultural understanding. O ito yung they're not using their phone. So the means is computed for each group of participants and the single factor analysis variance, ANOVA, dependent measure is used to determine whether there are any significant differences among the means. So compare portions for two or more groups. So each individual is simply classified into category. The data consists of a simple frequency count of participants in each category on the scale measurement. So, yung nominal measurement natin, gender, sa gender, male and female, academic major for college students, then occupation. Sa ordinal scale naman, college class, so freshman, sophomore, and so on. Sa birth order, firstborn, secondborn, high, medium, or low performance task. So that's all. You can ask questions if you want. Thank you for listening. Have a good day.